All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Good time to join now, too. It's been a little bit of a choppy, kind of slow month here, and we've really been sideways all month. But like I said last week, we're starting to get to the point where the market is turning. We talked about that risk period that we were going to come into, looking for some downside. We got that, and we're now set up here for a pretty big move, if you ask me. So if you've been holding out on joining, now is a good time to take advantage of the free trial. Anyways, let's get into the markets here. So bulls can't hold the gains again. That's kind of been the story the last couple of days, and this is really what the bears want to see. Again, we talked about the down move here, and now we're just consolidating and putting in a bear base here. We talked about the weekly failed inside bar below that 50 moving average as well. So that's a sell signal there. And you can kind of see it a little bit better if I pull up the futures here via the ES. Down move, and now you're just kind of bear flagging here. So this is pretty much textbook right now. Below the 50 or hanging right on the 50 and just consolidating above the 200 and 100 moving averages here. I don't think this trend line is, like I said yesterday, I don't expect this trend line to be major. The more we consolidate here, the more juice that we'll have towards a move to the downside. And I think really we're looking at kind of, like 38.80 on the ES for the spiders, 386 or so. There's this pivot right there at 387. So, maybe a little bit of an overshoot there to 386, 385 possible. But that's where I think this market is headed here in the near term. You should get a pretty decent bounce off of that level. But for right now, I mean, this is a couple of days in a row now, Monday and Tuesday, where obviously yesterday we gapped up and we couldn't hold the gains. So, I mean, it really did not take long. And, we closed at the lows of the day. This morning we opened basically flat to negative, chopped around for a bit. We went up to this 4,000 handle on the SPX. On the SPY, it's 399. And we had a nice fade. So, and we'll probably just get stuck here. I mean, there's about 10, 12 minutes left. There is a gamma wall at 39.75, which we did just pierce here. And by the way, right now, if you just look at the 0 DTE flow, that's really all this market cares about at the current time. It's not a coincidence that we got very close to 4,000 and the bears came in and defended that. And it's also not a coincidence that we're stopping right at 39.75. That's right where the gamma is on the downside today, and the upside is really 4,000. And right now that 0 DTE flow is really kind of just dictating where the market goes. Does that really change things? No, it's still just charts all at the end of the day. And really, the SPX index options are basically just a way to hide ES orders, honestly. So it doesn't really mess up the charts. It messes up the VIX. It messes up the put-call ratio, but the charts still work. So, we're going to keep using them until they don't, which I don't think will ever happen. But anyways, another thing here about the SPX today, or the spiders rather, is let's take a look at the dollar. So dollar earlier today was red. So pretty much all morning it was red here, and then the SPX or the spiders really were struggling to get a bid, and that was the same thing yesterday. I mentioned that yesterday as well. Markets were bidding up earlier, but they faded pretty sharply off the highs, and even as the dollar was fading. So that to me signals distribution. So the market can't even get a bid when the dollar is pulling back, probably telling you that big money is using that dollar weakness to sell shares. So again, like I've been saying, the market or the bears here are basically getting everything that they want right now. You want to see it continue to make a bear base. But for right now, markets are holding up. The semis are still showing a little bit of relative strength. They had a nice bid today, but they faded really sharply here. And we got 10 minutes to go. This might actually close red. It's not that far from the close. Nvidia now making a lower low on the day. Again, we'll be watching that 230 handle. This to me, and I've been covering Nvidia a lot lately. It's because this is one of the last generals here that's holding up. It's really Nvidia and Tesla that are doing kind of they're kind of like the last of the two like retail darlings that are seeing a lot of money flow. Tesla tomorrow, investor day. We'll see what that does. Typically these things, when they run up ahead of those things, which Tesla kind of has, it's a sell the news. but it has chopped for a couple of weeks. So, honestly, who knows what's going to happen here. The one thing I will say is this should have had enough gas to blow through this by now. If you take a look here at the weekly and you add up the volume here, you got about 1.5 billion in volume from this consolidation here, which is basically where we are now to, we're consolidating. Well, just these 2 weeks, you've got 2 billion shares. So this should have enough gas to get through it, and the fact that it's not is a little bit of a concern. Maybe some distribution is going on here as well. It's certainly possible. I mean, it's had a 100% move off the lows. Same thing with NVIDIA. I've maintained the thesis here that this is going to leave an island. We're going to gap down, or we're going to lose 230 at some point, and that's going to get left up there. So anybody who was buying up there is going to be a bag holder big time. But either way, I think until those really break down, this market will probably hold up. But for right now, definitely not what you want to see as a bull. Again, we talked about this yesterday. You wanted to see, if I can get my tools here. There we go. You wanted to see a V shape off this trend line. So, and we're not seeing that. But anyways, let's get over here to the Qs. I can get rid of that. There we go. So triple Qs here. Again, still showing some relative strength. They are trying to scratch out a gain on the day. Up just 25 pennies there on the triple Qs. Still inside of this channel, and notice how that upper trend line there coincides with the hourly 20 MA, or excuse me, 4-hour 20 MA, as well as the 50 on the 4-hour there. So we'll see. Maybe this, maybe this has one more pop left in it. I do think, actually, to be honest, I do think before we push lower, I think the market will get one more kind of micro bid here, maybe even like a pierce of 400 on the spiders. Some type of a test in that direction. But again, we're looking for lower prices here, probably sooner rather than later. Maybe we have a few more days of consolidation here, but I don't expect it to take that much more here on the spiders here. So right now we're kind of just hanging in there, and I think we're on our last legs. But the Qs for now, they're holding up. If we break through this, you'll have some support there at 283. After that, the bigger level is 273 on the daily time frame. Russell 2000 still holding up okay, but again, bearish and sidebar. So big red candle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days inside of that. Give it another day or two, and this might have enough juice to get through that. So again, bear patterns everywhere. We talked about that yesterday. A lot of sectors look very much the same here. The Dow here also starting to get a dead cat bounce. Dow's down 0.5% today. It's a big move for the Dow, especially when you consider the other indices are basically flat on the day. So Dow underperforming. We're getting a little bit of a bid here. Some gamma unwind probably coming off that 39.75 handle. Again, nothing crazy here though. But Dow here, again, down move, and we're going sideways. So we're just consolidating to get through that 1222 pivot, if you ask me. Semis, we already talked about a little bit. They did outperform a little bit today, but faded pretty sharply off the highs. Again, still below that 20 period moving average. We'll be watching this trend line or a possible head and shoulders. It doesn't mean it has to play out. It hasn't triggered yet, so we won't get too crazy on it. If it does trigger, then we'll look at it. There's a gap down here at 220. You also have these moving averages in that area. This is previous support as well. So there's levels of support. Not going to go down straight, in a straight line, but that is something we're watching there on the SMH. Back above 250, then things can change here, but I am not seeing that right now. IGV here, cloud software again. So we talked about that failed pattern there. Well, not failed pattern technically. We held the green bar on the weekly, but we closed below that pivot. So still showing some weakness here. I think Snowflake has earnings tomorrow. I don't believe that's in the IGV, or if it is, it's a pretty small percentage, but that may be a mover regardless. But IGV flat, just like most things here. Dow transports again with that inside bar there. It looks kind of like the Russell, big red bar, and then bear flagging there. We talked about that level. We broke through that breakout, so we're below the FOMC pivot, and now, or we closed below the FOMC pivot on a weekly basis, and now just flagging here on the daily. So again, starting to see this pattern here, pretty much show up everywhere. So again, let's get over to bonds here. So ZT, again, not a pattern of strength. I mean, it's over and over again, just down move, sideways action. This is setting up for another move lower, which means the yield goes higher. We did get a rollover here in the 2-year yield futures. But if we take a look at, and I'll flip over here. So there's Bitcoin, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. If I can find my 2-year, there we go. The 2-year yield, continuous yield, is still holding up at that 479 handle. So Again, a little bit more flagging here. We'll push you right through that pivot and we'll have more problems on our hands. That's the level where I would say the market's been kind of complacent with the yield so far. I think once you break that, that's where the quants, that's where the algos, that's where you start to see the market actually start to panic and we see some acceleration of the downside. But it hasn't, broken out yet. If it does, that's probably going to be a significant mover here. The market's kind of ignored the yield right now, and it's just been acting like it doesn't exist, but it will very soon. So we'll be watching that 2-year yield very closely. There's the 10-year ZN. Again, another inside bar pattern. This is setting up for a move lower. Bonds not looking good here. 30-year inside bar pattern setting up for a move lower. Again, same thing across the board. HYG still getting, still had a nice bounce off this level here. I don't see a whole lot of strength in it though. It does look like it's just getting a bounce here to reset the technicals a little bit for a possible lower high and a push lower. Again, bond land not in good shape right now. XHB still holding up. Again, what is this pattern? Inside bar, bear flag. So again, setting up for a move lower. ITB, same thing. BNQ, same thing. Just consolidating in the lower end of this range. Not a pattern of strength here. XLF, bearish inside bar on the daily. All over the place, guys. Rising wedge break, consolidating above the 50. This is setting up for a move lower as well. Broker dealers still hanging in there. Below that 20 moving average. If this goes down, it's got 480, 475 as levels on the downside. Onto crude here. Again, just backing and filling for the most part. You did close above this red bar high here. So, maybe a little bit of short-term strength. It got rejected to that 50 moving average. We'll see what it does here. If it loses this pivot, then we're headed down probably to $60. So crude, again, not a pattern of strength here, especially on the bigger time frames, as we've talked about many times here. XLE, bear flags. So again, even XLE starting to come in. We talked about yesterday the XOP. Low, higher low, high, and then higher high, and now we have lower highs with the higher low, and another kind of almost a lower low. This does look like strength is starting to wane here. 1, 2, 3 lower highs here in the short term. I do think this wants to break and head down. OIH rejection at that 20 moving average. That's coming back in. Again, the weekly close is all I care about on this one. Nat gas bucking the trend. We talked about 278 being the level to watch. It pulled back for a few hours, put in a higher low, and now it's at the highs of the day. If I told you 5 days ago that nat gas was going to close green on the month, there's absolutely no way anybody would actually believe me. But there it is. So with a volume uptick, and this is a shortened month of February. So nat gas continuing to power up here. Probably wants to get to $3, maybe even a Pierce, but ultimately it's going to 375. And this is why you buy the fear, guys. I had a lot of messages in my inbox. I had people canceling last week for me buying into nat gas down here. But this is how you got to be emotionless. You got to be like a robot. When everybody else is panicking, and when it's down 85% into massive support, and you've got cyclical factors coming into play, that's when I want to be involved. I want to be involved when people are scared. I want to be involved when people are hate it. And that's what happened last week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days up. Nat gas now up 40% off the lows. Big time move there. May need to stall out a little bit, but shorts are covering. So anyways, dollar index, again, we talked about that a little bit. Up 0.25% on the day. Some flagging here will get you to 107. Nothing really too new to add there. Nice dump there into the close. Look at the IWM. Wow, power dump here all the way down to 396.20. So bears really pushed it through that gamma wall at 39.75. I'm a little surprised by that. So nice little dump there. Yeah, we closed at 39.69. So a nice little dump there into the in the final 10 minutes. Not a good looking candle. And like I've been saying, bears are in control. Just bearish consolidation until proven otherwise. Looks like they pushed the Russell. Yeah, Russell actually closed down 3 pennies. So all the indices closing red here today. Let's see the semis. Wow, just scratched out a 12-cent gain there. So again, not a lot of strength here across the board. Anyways, dollar index. Again, a little bit more flagging, gets you up into these moving averages here. Really, I'm looking on the weekly though. This is a necktie here between the 50 and 20. So again, it does have to pause potentially, maybe another week even, but this should get up into that area. This is ultimately going to 109, as you guys know. Gold here, getting a nice bid finally. So finally getting some support. I know it had a nice zone here, right? So, I've been talking about this for a while. Really just this kind of box right there. Good support in that area. Let's actually move this up. Move it to right there. So, good area of support here. It's finally getting a bid. It should result in a lower high, though. This will go lower. I'm not ready to buy it yet. Same thing with silver, although silver finally getting a nice bid here. Looks like it just, about to close right on that 200-day moving average. So getting a little bit of strength here. We did close below the 200 on the weekly. This does have one more push down. This should result in a lower high. There's better levels to buy this at, which I've already got worked out, and I will be getting involved in probably in the next couple of weeks, but we'll have to see how it trades in there. Platinum showing a little bit more relative strength here, up 1.37% here. Closed above that high from the other day, and then it stalled out at the 20. It's showing more relative strength than the other precious metals, but this is still not the best pattern here. Platinum I'll also be getting into as well, but not here. It's got to go a little bit lower. Copper also a nice retrace here. This all it is a retrace. This is going lower. 390 still has to get down to, and then 375 is going to be a good level of support. All right, Bitcoin here. Again, still holding up, and we talked about Tesla and NVIDIA. This is the other kind of retail darling general right now. By the way, Coinbase was up big today as well. I didn't see news. I know there was news about Sam Bankman-Fried. I'm not really sure if that has anything to do with it, but Coinbase was up nicely. Either way, Bitcoin here is still hanging in there okay. And this is one of, like I said, one of the last retail darlings here to hold up. Still has a bullish pattern. We lost that green bar though, remember, and now we still have a micro kind of inside bar. If that breaks and you lose this green bar, it's all over for Bitcoin. Otherwise, we'll still give it the upside bias until proven otherwise. But again, these are all on borrowed time regardless. Tesla, NVIDIA, Coinbase, Bitcoin, all of them. So anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. Let's look at the spiders one more time. Nice dump with volume there. Yeah, pretty good dump there. NVIDIA, watch that 230 handle. Tesla Investor Day tomorrow. I don't know what Elon's going to say. We don't really care. All we care about is the charts. Anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you all tomorrow.